1,000 miles an hour. This is Autosport Radio Le Mans, the lifeline of Le Mans.
Jean-Christophe Bouillon standing patiently with me, just out of the 16 PlayStation car. A wonderful result so far. Can you catch up with the Audi?
I don't have the answer to that question, but we'll try anyway. The car is really good. The braking is good. The handling is good. It's really a pleasure to drive that car. So we are pushing at the moment, and we hope that we will catch the Audi before 4 p.m.
The car is very, very fast. Can you keep it out of the pits so that you don't lose time?
I think we have keep a rhythm where the car is good, where the driver is good, is fine, no problem at all. So we just have to keep that, keep out of the traffic, and we can do it.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe. Jean-Christophe Bouillon patiently waiting for us, and a few more updates, if I may, from this end of the pit lane. We've had a flurry of pit stops. The 17 car, that's the sister car to Jean-Christophe's, came in. Eric Ellery at the wheel, and he stayed at the wheel, taking on just fuel. We're due a pit stop any second now for the Labre Competition Ferrari number 50. That's due to happen any second. The Cruise Motorsport car that we saw, this is the number 30 car in LMP2 that we saw having a little incident. Ian Mitchell, sitting at the wheel, has come in for a check over and is being worked on the pit apron under the watchful eye of the team owner. We'll come back to them in a second. The Panos. Okay, well, let's pass back up to Henry Hope Frost, who's got the number 3 Audi.
It's the number 2, actually, guys. Frank Bieler has brought that car in.
The number 3 is coming in as well. The leader
number
is
3
in as well.
Is coming in as well. They are both in together. And they only just fit in the boxes here. In fact, it's going to have to be pushed back. JJ Leto in the number 3 car. The car that's leading the race, guys. Both of them taking on fuel. Both drivers, JJ Leto in the number 3 car, Frank Bieler in the number 2, staying in the cars.
Henry, you can't see this, but JJ has had a monster lockup of the right rear as he was coming down towards the Mulsanne corner. Number 2 car pulls out behind him. Brad Kettler holding the board at the front there for ADT champion Audi, talking to his driver there, and they are going to do a tyre change, and that's out of sequence, Paul.
Well, yeah, the stop itself is about 2 laps early, so and it was a fresh set of tyres for JJ as well, so shows how hard he was pushing. Henry?
Yeah, absolutely. All 4 tyres are on, the car's back down, JJ fires the starter button and goes back into the race.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
Taking no chances then with potential of a flat spot or any problems. The big lockup that we just saw on replay up here in the booth could be the only reason that they have changed those tyres, unless they feel that the temperature on the track is coming up so quickly that they want to change to a new compound. So then the 2 Audis, the 2 ADT champion Audis in and out. I'm going to pay off the story about the GT1 lappery that we had the email about in a moment, but first of all, let's go down to the pit lane. You remember we were talking just a few moments ago about the spinning Ian Mitchell in the Cruise Motorsport number 30 Courage with the Judd engine. Graham Tyler is down there for a little update on that.
Thank you, John. Yes, Ian Mitchell just brought the car in, and speaking to the crew, let me tell you that it wasn't actually Ian's fault. They seem to have an intermittent problem with the paddle shift system. On the downshift, sometimes it's being really violent and just catching the rear wheels, and that's exactly what happened. Now, they tell me that if that persists, they will have no option but to go to a manual backup system, which is already there. They have that, and so they can go to that if need be. Let me just round up where I was before we had the Audis coming in with the news of the other pit stops down at this end of pit lane. We had the Luc Alphand Adventures car, the number 72 Porsche out of GT2, where it had a driver change. Luc Alphand, car's owner, a downhill skier as well as a race car driver, taking the car over from Christopher Campbell, and up in the Ed Triolo pit, which is the Panos number 70
button, which always worries me. I always look to see if the safety car board's out when that happens, when we don't have any noise here. Fine. Everything is restored to normal. I had an email earlier on from the US about the ballasting or some kind, any kind of sanction that would be taken on GT1 cars that lap sub 355. And the boys at Daily Sports Car across in the press room have been listening in as ever and have quickly sent this across to me, for which I'm indebted to Malcolm Cracknell. And remember, there's a 4:08, 4 minutes and 8 second lower level for the GT2 cars as well. But this is what Daniel Poissonneau, who's the head man here at the ACO, said when asked the direct question about the ACO didn't want to see the GT1 cars lapping faster than 355 in the race this year, and that's why the 550s are carrying 35 kilograms of ballast. Why? This is what Daniel Poissonneau said. It's like this. Last year, the Ferrari 550 completed more than 30 consecutive laps in the race at under 355, and for us, that's the limit. So for this year, the Ferrari 550s, and indeed any Corvette C5Rs, had they been racing, need to carry more weight. It doesn't apply to any cars making their debuts this year, but if the cars are too fast, then next year... Now, that is obviously quite an open-ended remark, and the boys at dailysportscar.com rightly thought that it needed clarifying. So the question was asked, if the cars lap consistently quicker than 355 in the race this year, Monsieur Poissonneau, what happens? And he replied that next year the cars will be penalised. It doesn't apply to the rest of this season, only next year, the 06 season. Now, in the Le Mans Endurance Series, of course, as well, which runs under the auspices of the ACO, the 550s have been penalised in that series as well. So there we have it, the ACO's position. They can only penalise cars that raced last year and not those making their Le Mans debut this year. Unfortunately, and this is a big unfortunately, all very well for Aston Martin Racing to be going out and blitzing at the moment that 355 barrier, but it means that next year Aston Martin customers who come to Le Mans will be penalised for the likely race week speed of the TPR 9s this year, and possibly also the Porsche customers and Panos customers, and that's why the Porsches and Panos have been so careful to stay away from the 408 barrier in the GT2 category. Now, that hasn't been the case in GT1, and particularly Aston Martins have been consistently lapping in the under the 355 barrier. Now, that would just break away from that at the moment as the Cruise Motorsport car has just held up the race leader there, but remember, he's got terrible gear shift problems. JJ Leto, no hand signal from him, so he obviously realises the car is in problem. It may well be that if the ACO decides then that the Aston Martin has been too quick this year, it won't be AMR, Aston Martin Racing, that has the problems, because as far as we know, they aren't racing next year. It'll be the customers like Certec who have bought the cars, who I'm absolutely certain, Paul, will want to bring them to this race.
Absolutely, yes, and it is a very interesting position, isn't it? But what else can you do? I mean, there was one sort of slight contradiction there, because there's no way that any car can do 30 laps consecutively under 355, because they just run out of fuel. So I think we have to kind of read between the lines of what Poissonneau was saying. You know, there was a few, and then there was a few more, and then there was a couple, and all together over the 24 hours there were probably about 30. Now, because that's exactly what the Aston Martins have been doing. They've run a few laps in the 52s, and indeed at the moment Peter Cox is in the middle of just doing exactly that. But yeah, you kind of think, well, where's this going? You know, what's the purpose of a situation like this? But you know, let's worry about it next year and worry about this now, this year, because it all gets too complicated otherwise. For me,
the only thing we want, and I'll tell you exactly where it's going. It's going to 4 o'clock, and those three little words: Aston wins Le Mans.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know, if my car will go that fast, but you know, I'm telling the drivers not to actually drive it that fast, it's a bit like putting an air restrictor on a driver. You know what I mean? It's like saying to the driver, just before you get to the start-finish line, slow down and then go over it. You know, it's silly.
Yeah, but we have had that.
We're going to pass down to Graham Tyler, thanks to Paul Truswell and Charles Dressing there in our Tribune commentary box. We have another Le Mans legend in the pit lane, and I'm not talking necessarily about Graham Tyler, but we've got all the big names here on Autosport Radio Le Mans this year. None other than Norbert Singer down there with Graham. Yes, Norbert Singer. I've just stumbled across Norbert in the BAM Alex Job pit, overseeing operations. Just from an interested point of view, Norbert, a visitor this year at Le Mans as ever.
Well, every Le Mans is a little bit different, and this year it was still now it's a very special one, because on the front you see the fight against Pescarolo against Audi. Audi had some bad luck, Pescarolo as well, so it would be interesting in GT1. The Aston Martin at least is now leading, and in GT2 Porsche is leading, so I hope it stays like this.
It's a very, very tight race between the two Porsche teams at the head of the class.
Yeah, they have a real hard fight through the night, and so we will see, and it will continue. Maybe in the last hour we get the final results.
Mindful that we're talking to an American audience in particular at the moment, we have that excellent news in the States of the LMP2 Porsche-powered car to be run by the Penske team. That must be exciting for you.
Well, it's exciting. The problem is I'm retired and I'm no longer involved in that project.
But I bet your interest in Porsche hasn't waned a little bit.
No, that's right. I'm very interested in, and so from time to time I can have a look on the car and how it's processing, and so it's nice and very, very interesting.
And since you've retired, you've written a book as well.
Well, I haven't written it so far, so I'm not writing the book, but my cotton is doing it for me, and I hope we get it end of the year published.
Thank you, Norbert. We'll let you go there, and let's get straight down to Henry Hope Frost.
Great to hear you talking to Norbert Singer, Graham. I think he should have been included in our Le Mans Legends show earlier in the week. Guys up in the Tribune, I just wanted to add something to the Daniel Poissonneau thing. Did he not say, John and Paul, that he didn't want to see lots of rubber in pit lane?
Didn't want to see what? Just as you said that, but didn't want to see lots of
rubber, lots of wheel spin, because the champion Audi pit looks like the start line at a top field drag strip.
He did say that. He said he wanted people to respect the pit lane, not only the speed limit, but also in the way they pulled out. Didn't want to see people lighting them up and opposite locking it. Also, I have to say the Corvette pit is looking very dark as well on the exits from it, and it's very easy to spot them this year because they are really the only two. The rest of the pit apron, which is part concrete, which you can see certainly see the black tyre marks on, is very, very obvious, the guys who've actually been lighting them up. Now let's go back down to the other end of the pit lane, because we've got GT2 leaders back in again, Graham.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
And in the X-Markets pit lane, yes, we do have the GT2 leader. Mike Rockenfeller has brought in the number 71, Alex Job BAM Porsche. They're doing a full service. The fuel has already gone in. You can hear the air hammers in the background tightening up the new set of Yokohamas that are bolted on, and wouldn't that be a coup for Yokohama to win here in the GT2 class? The other item they've done on this is to take away one of the rip-offs off the windshield, because you know at this time of day when the sun is low, visibility through an oil-streaked screen is going to be appalling.
And while Graham was talking, we were watching the number 78, the remaining Panos, being pushed back into its pit garage. Now, we were getting a close-up of the right front of that car before it came into the pit, and I have to say I didn't see what we were looking at there. It may be that there's a right front problem on the car. No such problems for the 16 car, Eric Comas, who was blistering during the night. He was turning in lap after lap after lap of just outstanding pace, Charles.
And he just took 10 seconds from JJ Leto in the lead car, so that the two-lap interval remains, but it's getting closer to 1.9.
We've slightly evened out the pit stops on those cars, but JJ, remember, took tyres out of sequence the last time he was in after that lockup going down to Mulsanne corner. So JJ Leto leads for ADT champion Audi from Eric Comas for Pescarolo in second place. And I'm you know, we've mentioned this time and time again, but it bears repeating. You can't, it's almost impossible to describe how much Pescarolo and this race goes together in the consciousness of the French supporters here.
This is an emotional need, but it's a physical need. Yesterday, France was here, and when
its entirety, it seemed.
When the man stepped onto the red carpet, this place erupted. It was breathtaking. And Henri spoke to the crowd in French, and then he spoke to the crowd in English, and he got applause from people holding Union flags as well.
The third place GT1 car comes into the pit lane for what should be a regular pit stop. The CompuWare Corvette Pratt & Miller team go to work, and meantime, following up on the Panos, which has just been pushed into its garage, Graham Tyler has caught up with Brian Sellers.
Yeah, we've got ALMS regular Brian Sellers just out of the car. Brian reporting some damage to the right front.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened. I went down after the second chicane, going into the second chicane, and just saw a lot of smoke come into the cockpit of the car and had no idea what it was. So I limped the car back around, and it appears that we have right front damage to the car somehow.
Okay, so there's no contact with another car?
No contact. We're not sure where it came from.
Okay, there's plenty of wildlife running around. May have been something to do with that, maybe.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Plenty of wildlife running around here. It may be something to do with that.
Yeah, who knows? It might have been a beer can from over the way. Who knows?
Your first visit to Le Mans, how are you finding it?
Yeah, it's great, actually. It's really great. The fans have been unbelievable, and the whole atmosphere is just incredible to experience.
Wonderful experience for a man as young as yourself. Just frighten me. How young are you?
23.
I hate you, Mr. Sellers. Thank you very much. He's a star already.
Yeah, he's a young man. He's a year older than Bruce McLaren was when he won his first Grand Prix at Sebring, Florida.
Vanina X is installed into the number 18 Deutsche Bank X Markets Roll Centre Dallara with the Judd engine.
And that
slight misfire on the engine before she gets it going.
And that car has lost half an hour in the pits. I don't think we actually found out what happened to the Roll Centre car, but a lot of people were rooting for it earlier on. It was up there, right with them. It was 10 seconds away from having the lead of the race. I said during the broadcast, I have a sneaking suspicion it might have actually been in the lead for a few yards, because Werner was coming blasting up as Martin was coming out of as he was coming.
Martin,
yeah, and Werner was coming out of the pits. But Martin Short then had a lot of problems with the car. It tumbled down the lap charts, and they've ended up now really struggling to keep on the first list of screens, which shows us the first 16.
Yeah.
So. But they had a lot of problems with the power steering as well with that car. That was their main problem. They had a power steering leak. Not only was that making it hard work to drive, but it was also leaking the fluid onto the pedals, so that you were struggling to steer, and then struggling to find your place where your foot was supposed to go without them slipping off the pedals.
You're listening to 91.2 FM around the circuit, or www.autosport.com, or perhaps on Speed TV, where in a moment we'll take a short break before we come back for more from Radio Le Mans.
Autosport Radio Le Mans.
91.2 FM on the FM frequency. Let's go down to the pit lane. Eric Ellery has just got out of the number 17 Pescarolo car, and of course that means he has to talk to Graham Tyler.
He does. He's actually talking to a French journalist at the moment, but I'm sure if I ask very nicely, Eric will have a few words with us. Quelques mots en anglais, Eric, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
For the moment, everything's okay. We still have a car running. The steering wheel is a bit is not straight. We have a few problems, but still there, still fighting. That's the most important. But fifth, so far from the first place, is a bit disappointing.
But a very fast car and a great driver lineup for you.
Yeah, that's Le Mans. You never know what can happen, and we made too many mistakes to win the race. It's not finished, but it's nearly finished.
For Sébastien Loeb, the first attempt at Le Mans, how do you think he is doing?
He's doing for sure very well, because we are driving cars, I would say normal cars, since 10 years on the racetracks. And he just arrived. He had to discover downforce, carbon brakes, traffic. So this racetrack, which is incredibly fast, and he's there, he's quick, so, but he's world champion.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
Merci beaucoup, Graham Tyler. Just showing off. There's everyone brief. Graham Tyler just showing off his bilingualism down there in the pit lane. I was listening, says Jonathan Newman, earlier around about midnight French time, and the Racing for Holland car was 5th. Just came back to listen. It's now 12th. What happened to it, Paul? Had its problems, didn't it?
Oh dear, yes.
A litany of problems.
I honestly don't know, because there were so many. I think there were gearbox problems, and there was some kind of hydraulic leak as well. But I don't know if that was associated with the gearbox or whether it was two separate problems. But they've had an enormous lot of problems. They were running 5th, as you rightly say. They were kind of up behind the other dome, and it might be a point, even if we haven't had an email about the other dome, because there was a Japanese entered dome, the Jim Gaynor International car with the Mugen V8 engine, and that was running ahead even of the Jan Lammers car. It was up in 4th place, was looking on for a very good finish until about 7 o'clock in the morning, went off the circuit, was never seen again, and that was the end of that one. John.
Tete Rouge, and a problem for the Paul Belmondo racing car, number 36, who at the moment appears to be trying to execute what we would call a three-point turn. Who's at the wheel of that at the moment? Is it OJ? Yes, it is. It is OJ at the wheel of that, and I think he stalled it, you know, and the men in white bravely come out. Oh no, he's got it in reverse. This has an awful look about it. I really don't want to see somebody appearing from the right at speed, as he finally gets it pointing in the right direction. There was a slight holding of breath there for a moment in this commentary box. However, oh, sorry, it wasn't at Tete Rouge at all. It was at the Dunlop chicane. And, well, that wasn't so bad, because the sight lines are slightly better there, although he was over the top of the brow. And I just had this horrible vision of a car coming from right of the screen, and
my horrible vision was a car overtaking another car.
Yes, exactly.
That was my ultimate horrible vision.
And that sort of thing, and we've seen it happen in sports car races in the past, because you've got these very low down prototypes coming up behind what to us looked like a very slammed road car, but to them looked like a double-decker bus. Oh, hang on a second. A reversing Pescarolo. That is Sebastian Loeb, and he has had a bit of an incident coming into the braking area at Indianapolis. Is that? No, it's coming into
first chicane.
First chicane.
Is that oddly enough the PlayStation chicane?
No, he's gone off into the
oh no, that looks
road.
like post 91. I think you were right the first time. You were right the first time. It was
Indianapolis. He's hit the escape road at Indianapolis there, very bizarrely. Now, does that mean he had a brake problem? Could he not downshift?
Did he blink?
Is that the bit that he didn't get to on the PlayStation game?
That may be the answer. That's the best. The simplest answer is the best answer.
Fortunately, he's pressed the little triangle and it's put him back on the track, so he's fine.
Or unless you Control-Alt-Delete.
Henri Pescarolo impassively looking on, just adjusting his headphones there for a moment.
But Henri Pescarolo out in pit lane. This is a good sign. He's not retreated to the garage. Henri is on the attack.
Yes, Henri Pescarolo's presence is a bit like the little weathermen on the Cuckoo Club. If he is visible, things are going well. If he's not, and he's gone to the back of the pits, things are normally not going so well. Now let's just have a quick look at Sebastian Loeb as he comes across the line and completes the lap. And it seems that he's continuing, and he hasn't really lost too much time. 4:25. We're going to get another look at this, courtesy of the television. Comes through that little right kink, which is the bit I love. He's coming up on another prototype. I wonder, no, he's not close enough for it to have lost downforce. He's on the brakes. Now look at him, look at his head. He's already looking into the escape road. He knew he had a problem early, and he's made that decision very, very early. What we can't see is what's going on just ahead of him into the corner, and I wonder if the car ahead of him had a problem and had backed right up, or indeed even had a spin, because he made that decision very, very early in the braking area.
Name a class of racing drivers who can read the road better than a professional rally driver.
That would be none at all.
Thank you.
There's a statistic that says that when they are on a stage driving at 100 miles an hour, watching the road, making the gear changes, driving the car and listening to their co-driver at the same time, that professional rally drivers absorb or have to absorb information faster than a pilot when he's dogfighting. It's as simple as that. Right, Henry Hope Frost is down in the pit lane. We've kept him waiting long enough. H, what's going on at the pit out end?
The Orica Audi's just been in, John, for a routine stop, just to add some fuel, no new tyres. And the champion crew are expecting the number 2 car in any moment. They are standing with the board ready and the fuel hoses. The Creation DBA has just gone out of the pits. And we're just waiting. No sign of it yet, so I'm not sure if you can see it from your vantage point at the entrance to the pit lane. But these guys never come out any earlier than they have to, so we're expecting the number 2 champion Audi, which is in 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, I think it might be in the pit lane at the moment. Henry, there is, yes, and it's in the... coming down towards you at the moment.
Here it comes. The number 8, Roll Centre Dallara, is stopping too, with Harold Prima at the wheel. That car, of course, is only half an hour away from having to retire, I think, because it can't possibly have done...
Correct.
Oh, it's the... It is, in fact, the number 3 car, with JJ Leto at the wheel.
This is the leader.
Leading the race. JJ takes a drinks bottle from a big, long tube that is passed over the top of the car for him to reach. Fuel is added to the car, the little windscreen is clean. JJ chucks the empty water bottle away, showers the crew with high-energy drink, which I'm sure they're delighted about. Taking on a lot of fuel in this stop.
It can only be 80 litres, H, can't it?
Yeah, it seems to take forever. No new tyres, and JJ is away again.
On the marks as far as Paul Trustwell's concerned?
Yeah, that's his 3rd stint for JJ. So, yes, and he's on the mark.
Two stints on that set of tyres, don't forget, because he changed early.
That's right.
We had a quick look while H was reporting there on that Seb Loeb incident from an in-car camera.
It was either an in-car camera or it was PlayStation, because at the last yawning moment when he went into the forest, that's weird, he went into the forest on the overrun, it just broke up into little pixels, and I thought, could it be?
Was it something in front of him that he was reacting to? Or do you think
couldn't see because it broke up into pixels and it was dark, and he went on the forest stage there for a moment.
rlm@hairnet.com is the internet address or the email address. Keep them coming. Lots of you watching Speed, emailing us. We'll get to some of them after the sports update, which is coming live now. And it's Carl who's at the sports desk this Sunday morning.
And let's have a look at the sports news now. Jarno Trulli has earned Toyota's first ever pole by holding off McLaren's Kimi Raikkonen at Indianapolis, with BAR's Jenson Button in 3rd place. Fisichella is in 4th, with Schumacher and Barrichello's Ferraris sandwiching Fernando Alonso. In the meantime, which tyres the Michelin teams will use remains unclear. If Michelin decide the tyres cannot be used safely, their teams face a major dilemma. A new batch of tyres is being flown in from France, but in using these, competitors would be breaking several Formula 1 regulations. Golf, Retief Goosen, the South African, takes a 3-stroke lead into the final round of the US Open at Pinehurst. And in cricket, Australia will be looking to bounce back from their humiliating defeat to Bangladesh as they take on England at Bristol later today.
The Sports Report is brought to you by Silverstone Circuit, host of the 1,000-kilometre Le Mans Endurance Series race this August. For further details, go to silverstone-circuit.co.uk.
The hourly updates are brought to you by Audi, celebrating 25 years of quality.
Well, 9:30 here in France. John Hindhaugh, Paul Trustwell and Charles Dressing, as into the pit lane comes the 3rd position car. This is Frank Wheeler about to hand that car over to Emmanuel Pirot, who waits patiently. In the meantime, let's have a look at the rundown. JJ Leto has completed 268 laps of the Le Mans circuit, and his last time around did a 3:47.1. Remember, that was coming out of the pits. Eric Comas is in second position, having completed 266 laps, 3:38.6 for his last lap, and recently we saw him just unlap himself one of the times he needs to get back on the lead lap. That Biela car then into the pit lane, 263 laps completed now for him. Last lap around 3:51, but that was an in-lap. The third of the Audis, the PlayStation car, in the hands of Frank Montagny, the number 4 machine, has completed 261 laps and lies in 4th position. Rounding up the top 5, in fact, actually I'm going to go down to the top 6 and you'll understand why in a moment. Seb Loeb, current World Rally Champion in the Pescarolo, number 17, is in 5th position on 258 laps, 10 laps away from the lead. And the Zytek of Sam Hignett in 6th position, the number 9 car, has completed 255 cars. All of the top 6 Le Mans prototype ones. In 7th position overall is the first of the GT ones. Peter Cox is at the wheel of the lead. Aston Martin, it's the number 58 car, and it's completed 255 laps. On 254 laps at the moment, but we'll come round and complete its 255th in just a second. We have the 64 Corvette C6R with, at the moment, I think it was, did we have Ron Fellows in that car the last time it went by?
O'Connell.
O'Connell, my apologies. And in the next position in GT1, which is 3rd, it is Darren Turner. That's a change since the last hour. It was Aston Corvette, Aston. It's now Aston Corvette, Darren Turner in the 59 car, back up to 3rd position. In 4th, it is Johnny O'Connell in the 63 car, and that's the top 4 in the GT1 category. Now, we've got the number 7 Creation Autosportive car in the barriers. That's Jamie Campbell-Walters. So we'll keep an eye on that as we continue the update. It looks like it's at the Dunlop chicane. He's got offline rather badly there, and he's gone in sideways, fortunately. But that's quite an impact for Jamie Campbell-Walters. We'll keep an eye on that for you. In GT2, it is still the Porsche number 71, the Alex Job racing machine of Leo Hendry, Mike Rockefeller and Mark Lee. The BAM Alex Job racing car at the moment has Mike Rockefeller turning in some stunning laps, and he has been an absolute star. In 2nd place, and on the same lap, just 1 minute and 16 seconds in arrears, is Timo Bernhard in the number 90 White Lightning Racing Porsche, and he is just nibbling away at the leader, only taking a second or so out of Rockefeller's time. To complete the top 3, it's another Porsche, and it's Lonnie Petchnik who's at the wheel of the number 80, which is the Flying Racing Motorsport car that he serves with Seth Nyman and Johannes van Overbeek. In Le Mans Prototype 2, it is still the RML MG Lola on 229 laps that leads. Mike Newton is now at the wheel of that car that he shares with Warren Hughes and Tommy Erdos. In 2nd place on 227 laps is the number 37 car, the Paul Belmondo racing machine, Didier Andre at the wheel of that car, and despite the off recently, it is still the 36 Paul Belmondo racing Courage Ford that is in 3rd position. And that's your hourly update. We'll give you an update on the off from Jamie Campbell-Walter in just a moment's time.
Audi. Vorsprung Dirk Technik.
Around the world on www.autosport.com and trackside on 91.2 FM. The sound of the 24 hours. Autosport Radio Le Mans.
News from the pit lane with Deutsche Bank X Markets. A passion to perform.
Yeah, we've got Ray Mallock, the 25 car, Ray Mallock's Lola MG, currently leading LMP2, but might not be in a few moments because they've got a problem.
Yeah, we've got a gearbox oil leak. We're just investigating it now. Looks like there might be one of the castings cracked. So we're seeing if it can be changed.
Thank you, Ray. It's been an immensely tight battle in LMP2, and it looks like the Belmondo team may inherit the lead of the class while they're working on this. They believe they can do the job with everything in situ, so they've just got it up on the air jacks and blocks for the moment, but that's not good news for Ray Mallock, who himself, of course, has immense history here at Le Mans. We'll go up to Henry Hope Frost.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, the number 2 champion Audi made a routine stop. Somebody who's not, for whom things are not going to routine, is Jamie Campbell-Walter, of course, who we've just seen on the screens sliding off in the Creation DBA. Fiona Miller, the team's PR, told me that there was 2 separate problems with the electrics. It took them ages to start it during the first pit stop, and then on its most recent pit stop it wouldn't start at all, but the car was backed into the garage. Somebody else who's suffering with problems in the pits is Vanina Ix in the number 18 to Lara Judd, the Roll Centre car. Both these cars, of course, have spent an enormous amount of time in the pits, and in about 20 minutes' time the number 8 car will, Paul can probably confirm this, have to retire because it will not have done enough laps. And as I say that, Bobby Verdon-Rowe, you've got about 20 minutes left before, I think, it's game over, isn't it?
Until what? Until I'm in the car?
Because you haven't done enough laps, have you? And at 10 o'clock, there'll be a problem.
It's the first I've heard of that, actually. How many more laps have we got to do?
I think by 10 o'clock you have to have done half of the leader's laps, and I don't think your car has.
Well, it's the first I've heard of it. You know, we're just sort of doing the best we can and hoping to finish the race. I thought we were on course to do that. I sincerely hope they don't stop us from trying to do that, because obviously, having got this far, it'd be a bit of a shame.
Yeah, the studio telling me you need to find another 25 laps in 20 minutes. Otherwise, they'll ask you to stop.
Let's hope they give special dispensation.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bobby. Guys, are we right on this? It seems amazing that Bobby didn't know that. We've got our facts right, haven't we?
Well, he's a driver, Itch.
You could ask him.
They know nothing.
He knows. Remember what Hugh Chamberlain says to drivers: driver, get in the car, drive, leave everything else to us. It's as simple as that.
What you can do, Henry, is you can refer Bobby to Article 25, subsection A of the supplementary regulations, and ask him if he's read that bit.
He's just gone running to the back.
Autosport Radio Le Mans.
Welcome back to Radio Le Mans, Autosport Radio Le Mans and Speed TV together. We're online at autosport.com, at yoursportradio.com, and on digital satellite in the UK on Sky Channel 907. We've got the Flying Lizards number 80 car in, that car running well right up to the top of the GT2. Graham Tyler is there. This looks like a long stop, Graham.
Yes, it is a bit of a long stop. I've actually come back into the garage to have a word with Lonnie Pechnik as I hear the car firing up behind me. Lonnie handing over to Seth Nyman. Seth has got a nice new shiny red and gold design on the crash helmet, but the red and silver car is the one we're talking about, number 80. Flying Lizards over from California for the first time. Lonnie, how's it going?
Good. This last stint we took over third, and we'll see how it goes right now. Of course, we still have a long way to go, but we've made a lot of progress so far. The car's handling pretty good, considering, and you know, again, we're having a lot of fun, so that's the big one.
If you wanted to pick a 24-hour race here to come and run, you couldn't have picked a tougher one. This has been an immense struggle in GT.
It has. You know, obviously all the teams that we run against in LMS are over here, so we know what we're up against. And against some of the European teams are top-notch too, so it was a tough field. And I think added in with the heat and the humidity, it's been a tough challenge for this race. Hopefully the rest of the race goes just like the beginning had, well, except for we had a slight problem with the air jack, but other than that, everything else goes smoothly. We'll be super happy with it.
And people need to remember too that the Flying Lizards are only in their second full year of competition at this level.
Exactly. You know, we started in 2003. Not as Flying Lizards, but basically the same principles involved. And then 2004 was our first season, and it was a good season. And we're in 2005 right now. We're exceeding the expectations we've had when we started. It's still a bit of a surreal experience that we've been able to get to Le Mans this early in the team's formation, but again, we're thrilled.
Thank you. That's Lonnie Petchnik from California. Let's stay in the Deutsche Bank X-Market pit lane with Henry Hope-Frost.
Thanks, Graham. I'm with Olivier Beretta. Olivier, the battle for honours in GT1 is really incredible, isn't it?
Yes, it's very nice for everyone, for the driver, for the team, for the people on the stand. I think it's good. It's good to see that.
Now, apparently your grandfather used to race Corvettes. Is this true?
No, he was not racing Corvette, but he would like, he has always loved Corvette. First time he went to America, he was mad about Corvette, and you know, it's 50 years later, I'm driving a Corvette, and that is very cool.
It's amazing. Of course, you won this class last year. Have you got anything up your sleeve to repeat the victory this year?
We'll see. It's still long. We'll see at the end.
Best of luck. Thanks, Olivier.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
There's still 3 Grand Prix to run, and Olivier is absolutely right to say that he'll see at the end. Phil Bennett's brother, Andrea sister rather, is listening in at the moment. Andrea Bennett wanting to know who's driving the 30 Cruise car. Ian Mitchell was last in the car, but it's been in the pits for a long time, I'm afraid, Andrea, and they're still working on that. We'll give you an update as soon as we can. Are we getting worried about JJ Leno? Has he been off to pick up the bacon sandwiches or something?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a timing glitch. The timing monitor was showing him with a lap time of 6 minutes something, but I think it's just it was just a timing glitch. It's still a lap and a half. Remember when Chuck said a little while ago 1.9? Well, it's come down now to about 1.4, and I'm afraid at this rate it's not looking good for Champion. Pescarolo will be crossing their fingers that it all holds together, and Champion will be crossing their fingers that something breaks, because at the moment Champion don't seem to have a defence. Unless they've got some trick up their sleeve, the time that we've got left in the race is too long, and the difference between the lap times of the Pescarolo and the Audi is it's too great. They're just closing in.
We haven't really seen a big battle, though. I mean, how much? It's the top speed that's going to kill them. I mean, they're not going to be able to defend, are they?
No, I mean, this is a bit like watching single lap qualifying in a Formula 1 race, but taking a long time over it. You can't see them side by side, or you know how they do those split screens in skiing races. If you could see them side by side, you could see where one lost and where one made it up. This is, as I say, it's a classic handicap race, and you've just got to watch and see, because in fact both of these teams have been battling since about 10 o'clock or in fact before 10 o'clock, it was about 8 o'clock last night.
That's right, it was.
And ever since they had that gearbox problem, Pescarolo has been battling to get the cars back up the field.
And let's remember the Pescarolos didn't even last in the LMS distance. They were both in big problems by 2.5 hours into the race, and we said that we were very surprised at that. But at that time you did say, but there's still plenty of time to go. It's a long race, I think you might have said.
Right on.
In fact, Rich Gentner in Columbus, Ohio, says just got in a little while ago from the USAC Buckeye Nationals Sprints and Midgets at Tony Stewart's Eldora Speedway in Ohio. Pleased to see you chaps hard. Hey, that must have been a good gig.
Any day is a good day at Eldora, because Eldora, the lap record at Eldora for an Outlaw sprint car on the half-mile banked oval is 132 miles an hour.
On a half-mile banked oval. Excellent. He says, pleased to see you chaps hard at work for the insatiable speed freaks here in Mid-America. It's much appreciated. I have a question, he says. What of the TVR presence in this year's Le Mans? It freaks me out that guys in America where TVR doesn't even have a presence are so much behind the TVRs. We do have a TVR here. It's not that far away from us, at least their pit isn't. The number 95 Peninsula TVR Rocket Sports team have a singleton entry. It's still running, and it's well down the order, Paul, but it's still running.
Yes, it is well down the order. It is still running, and would it get? No, it's done enough laps to stay in.
Yes, yeah,
absolutely. No, so it's done all right, but you have to bear in mind this is not the same kind of entry that TVR did last year. TVR last year got both their cars to the finish, and it was a proper, if you might call it that way, proper TVR entry. This year has been done very much as a Race Sport Salisbury team entry, run by Dennis Leach. And Dennis is a lovely, lovely enthusiast, like a lot of you guys out in the campsites. In fact, at this point in time, he probably looks a lot worse than you lot in the campsites.
He's been changing tyres, not for him on the prep perch on the wall.
He will, I mean, he will look worse. And you guys who were out there drinking last night, Dennis will look worse than you do.
Are you looking at me there?
Yes, actually,
he
Paul
works extremely hard, and he has bags of enthusiasm. And those who used to go to British touring car races in the 60s will remember that Dennis used to race British touring car races in the 60s, and now he is here at Le Mans running a team.
A spirited driver as well, in fairness. Lots of sideways stuff from him. Jeremy Malovich in Vancouver, Canada, says, thanks for another great broadcast on speed. I may never get to Le Mans, but because of the Speed Network and Radio Le Mans, I'm able to watch my favourite form of racing, share the drama and excitement that is Le Mans. Well, don't forget, you've got the American Le Mans Series. All right, I know that Mosport Park isn't on your doorstep, but it's a heck of a sight closer than here.
Sonoma.
Yes, Sonoma actually is probably closer. That's not
race,
too
Sonoma.
far away. Howard Townsend also watching on Speed and Radio Le Mans as well. We're on 91.2 FM here at the track. Now, do you think Michael Schumacher will race Le Mans when he retires, says Robert. Been here, done that, hasn't he, Paul?
Bought the T-shirt. Yes, bought the T-shirt. I mean, he was phenomenal here in 1991.
Set the lap record, I believe.
And I remember Ian and I were sitting just one floor up, and you know how you have to kind of struggle to see here. When Schumacher was in the car, the Mercedes made a different noise. You had to kind of prop up. And I mean, it was obvious that that Schumacher was going to be a Formula One star.
He was in the Mercedes Junior team with people like Frentzen, wasn't he? Frentzen was here that year.
It was Fritz Kreutzpointner,
who went on to race trucks.
Carl Wendlinger and Michael Schumacher.
Yes.
And they had to make a specially long wheelbase version of the Mercedes to get all their names on the side of the window.
Oh, very good.
And he's been awake all night.
I know. How does he do it?
I don't know.
Can I just point out, please, that I only have the funny. That's all I do. You know, you've got brains and stats. Chuck's got the history. I only have the funny. You take that away from me, I've got nothing. I might as well
Let me write this down.
JJ Lehto still leads. 273 laps completed. 3:43.1 last time around. I think we can certainly say now that 6-minute lap that we saw was a timing aberration. 3:39.
We didn't see it. Paul saw it.
Paul sees everything.
I know.
3:39.7 for Eric Comas in the 16 Pescarolo in second. 271 laps completed, and they're again in the same sector of the track. I suspect that Comas is just a little bit ahead of JJ Lehto and pulling away at the moment. Emmanuel Pirot is also in the same section of track, but he's only completed 267 laps and did a 41.1 last time around. So that car going significantly quicker in the hands of Emmanuel Pirot than it did in Frank Peeler. Frank was doing the heavy lifting at the 340s, 343s, 344s. Pirot, that's almost down to McNish kind of country. McNish bizarrely put in a 40.2 on his third lap in the car last night. Now that's since been bettered by the JJ Lehto car, which has put the fastest Audi lap in at a 3:39.7. But just to put that in perspective, Eric Comas's car did a 3:34.9.
And Pirot, it should be remembered, is on his, I won't say his first set of tyres, but he's on the first stint of his set of tyres. So they are a fresher set of tyres, and you tend to remember Peeler when he was on the end of his tyres.
Fair point, well
so I don't think necessarily that indicates that much of a difference in driver, just in the state of the car as it is at the moment.
From Sao Paulo, Brazil. I think this is the first time we've had a South American email today. Eduardo, like to say, doing a great job. He's been listening on the internet on his ADSL line, so he says the signal failure is no problem there. Everything has been very clear. Just we have had one or two problems. Oddly, only it seems to be in certain parts of the UK. Let's go down to Graham Tyler, and one of the guys that I remember from my very first Le Mans here in 1989. Jan Lammers is still here.
Jan Lammers just brought his number 10 car in from 11th place overall, 7th in class, handing over to American driver Elton Julian. Jan, good to see you back here again.
Yes, the car's doing fine. We just have to look after our brakes a bit. And yeah, I don't think there's much we can do speed-wise, so we just have to try and hang in there. And maybe we can still score a top 10. That would be nice.
You've stuck with the Dome Mark for a few years now. You're obviously pleased with their product. Have they got something up their sleeve for next year as well?
Well, we're looking at a new project for the future, and we just have to see how Dome's future plans match up with ours. But the backbone behind Racing for Holland is increasing, and the future looks a bit brighter than half a year ago. So we're really looking for new products, but the Dome is one of the choices.
Looking back to the pre-race festivities yesterday, it was your supporters, the Dutch supporters, that really made a splash with all the fireworks and the orange balloons. An amazing welcome for you.
Yeah, really wonderful. I think we've all seen it. I think the Irish and the Dutch are pretty good at throwing parties, particularly at World Championship footballs, the Olympic Games. And it's great to see that they're really livening up to Le Mans also. It's wonderful.
It's great stuff. Huge smile on the Jan Lammers' face. Let's stay in the Deutsche Bank X-Market pit lane. Henry Hope Frost is with Corvette.
Thanks, GT. Yeah, the 64 car has come in. Ollie Gavin is out. Olivier Beretta is in. The car is taking on fuel and a windscreen clean. And when the fueling is done, the car will also have some new Michelins. And just behind it, the 58 car. The class-leading GT1 car. These cars are stopping on the same lap every time. This is a real battle of wits between the ProDrive and GM pit crew. Although, of course, Ollie brought the car in slightly earlier than the Aston, so should win this one. They're both having fuel, driver change, and tyres. Peter Cox got out of the car, and as I walk round to the side, I notice it's Thomas Enger getting into the 58 car. The door's shut. The new tyres are on. Olivier Beretta has already disappeared up pit lane in the GM Corvette. So Thomas Enger, who set that incredible class pole time on Thursday night, 3 minutes 48, is going to have to put some fast laps in. Let's go back down to the other end of the pit lane to Graham Tyler.
I'm not quite sure why he's come to me. We're expecting a Paul Belmondo moment. The 37 car, which I think now is probably leading LMP2. Is that correct up in timing and scoring? It's looking that way from where I am. They will have taken the place over from the 25. Remember, we spoke to Ray Mallock, who was having his problem. That Ray Mallock 25 car still in the pit. So the Paul Belmondo cars inherited the lead in class there, and they're due their next stop, but they're looking fairly secure in that position now.
First and second for the Paul Belmondo cars now as the RML Lola MG. Oh, I've just panicked there. I looked across and saw a garage door down on a Lola, and it's the AER from further down the 32 car. Just had a bit of a panic, but the boys still working hard down in RML's pit, and good morning to them. I know they will not give up. That car, if it is in any way, shape or form possible, will get to the end. If they were allowed to, they would pick it up and carry it around the remaining laps here. We've got Tom Engrav from Minnesota saying, do the Pescarolo and Racing for Holland cars have the same Judd engines, or are they different sizes, Paul?
They are different sizes, and they are also differently configured. I'll explain. The Pescarolos have 5-litre GV5 Judd engines, and the Racing for Holland cars have 4-litre GV4 engines. The reason, so they're different sizes, but the reason I say they're different, and they're both V10s, the reason I say they're differently configured is because the Racing for Holland cars are running as 2003 cars, they run the smaller restrictors. The Pescarolos are running as hybrid cars, which means that they've been modified to the 2005 regulations, and therefore they can run with the wider restrictions. So not only are the engines bigger, but they're also more powerful and they're better configured. And we've got a problem down in the pit lane, down to Graham Tyler.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, it's Sebastian Sebastian Loeb, who's brought the 17 car in, and the rear deck has come off the car. They're looking initially in under the side pod at the radiators and blowing cold air through the radiators, so it's maybe an overheating issue again. That would be a sensible guess, but that's all it is. In the meantime, they've cleaned the fly screen. They're checking play at the front as well. Maybe some reports of a little bit of vibration. That may have been a bit of a flat spot, maybe after taking to the escape road earlier on at Indianapolis. We saw.
Grim, we've actually got some sand in those radiators because he went off onto that escape road and it was very dusty and dirty. He may have ingested a bit of rubbish there.
Yeah, that's entirely possible, John. That could be a very good call indeed. They've done everything else. They're offering up a more brand new Michelin rubber, but this is taking a bit longer than it should. They've done everything else on the car they can. They're still winding more and more cold air through those radiators. The rear deck needs to go back on next, and then they'll be ready to send Sebastian on his way. Everything else is done. It's just taking them far too long to get this sorted. Far too long. They're looking at another problem around the other side of the car where I can't get for the moment because of the scrum of people. They've decided they're going to let that go. We're looking for a top-up of lubricant that they can't find the replenishing bottle to take it from, so they're holding the car again while they run back into the pit to find it. It's the pressurized oil system that they're wanting to replenish, and they're still waiting. The crew chief says, no, we're not waiting any longer, you have to get on with it as it is. The bodywork is being offered up, and as so often is the case, doesn't quite line up first time. Now they've got it sorted as that Belmondo car 37 comes in across the bows. And we've still got work going on in the side pod at the front left. We've lost the mirror on the right side of the car. In fact, both of them. Off we go.
The sixth place Zytek is in the pit lane. Graham Tyler is on the job.
Yeah, Sam Hignett brought the car in and will stay in. John Stack was ready to take over but waved away. Sam happy to carry on. They're just replenishing the lubricant as well as the fuel, but they won't do anything else at the moment. Screens on the radiators. There is an awful lot of pickup out there for the cars to run over. A lot of rubbish thrown out by the tyres as they roll off the edge of the treads, and that seems to cause more problems than ever when the weather is hot, of course. Those screens being carefully put back in place in front of the rads. You do not want those getting damaged. In the meantime, just behind that pit, we're due a pit stop for the number 59 Aston Martin, which currently I think has Darren Turner at the wheel, and there is a thought that they may change to Stefan Sarazan.
It's Graham Tyler down in the pit lane. Let me just make sure I've turned everything back on that needs turning on here. Yes, I have. Rob from Modesto, California says, what's the story about this infamous Peugeot 905B making a return as a diesel in 2007? Is it a smart return with a diesel? With a great car like the 905B, it should be in well-deserved lump to bring Peugeot victory. Well, Peugeot talking about a diesel car, but I would think that the days of the 905 coming back are, I'm afraid, long gone.
Yeah, if you compare the 905 with the drawings that you have in the regulations for a 2005 spec car, you can keep the steering wheel, but that's about it.
Well, we could go down on the pit wall and ask Andre de Cortanza, who drew that shape of 905, who's sitting out in the little plastic house out on pit road, shepherding Pescarolo's home today.
Stand by for a plethora, for a flurry of diesel-engined race cars. Taurus, of course, gave it a try last year at Le Mans, and really with the V10 Volkswagen Audi engine that comes out of the Touareg, and that was somewhat underfunded and didn't really net the results that they were expecting. It was a valiant effort, but if Peugeot are serious about this, and let's remind ourselves that there's a Renault manufacturing facility here at Le Mans, so Peugeot coming to a Renault hometown and racing would be quite fun. But also the people who are behind Audi at Ingolstadt have been talking about a new car for a while. They can't race really can't race the R8 next year, so something has to be done. They're going to have a new chassis, and I would say that Peugeot and Audi between them probably have the best diesel engines for road cars in Europe at the moment. I know you guys in America watching on Speed don't do diesels very big, although your regulations are about to change shortly, so stand by to be converted to the dark side.
We've got the pit stop for the leading car coming in, I think, at the end of this lap. Now, with the pit stop that we just had for number 16, that has made the gap go over 2 laps. So the gap first to second overall has gone now to over 2 laps, but that will come back again to under 2 laps when Leto comes in for his pit stop at the end of this lap. Meanwhile, we can go down to the and Graham Tyler is there.
Thank you, Paul. It's the number 59 Aston Martin. It's been brought in by Darren Turner, who climbs out drenched in sweat. Hands over to Stefan Sarazan, being buckled in by the mechanics now as the fuel goes in. Remember, under the Le Mans regulations, no other work may be done other than to clean the windshield and to install the... to keep well away so that the clear line out to the pit is available. Brad Kettler, the only thing, and the fuel line, of course, that's preventing JJ from going now. They're not going to do tyres. They too have only got one light illuminated. I wonder if they'll get pushed back all the way down pit lane as others have. I don't think anyone would say, yes, he will. The marshal there at the end of pit lane was gesticulating that only one light was available and tried to get JJ to stop. JJ, being JJ, drove past. Brad Kettler is looking incandescent with rage. Brad, that'll be for one headlight.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting excited at pit out.
Yeah, well, it's got one headlight, but that's all it has to have.
Thanks, Brad. Brad is...
I think they're so dirty, I don't think they can see if the other one's on.
Good call. That's a good escape from that one. Number 4, the Eureka PlayStation Audi is also in, and that's not going to have anything other than fuel unless they change their mind with the tyres that they've offered. The tyres are there, but it doesn't look as though they're going to take them at the moment. No, still just looking at fuel. There are no airlines ready, so my guess is that that's not going to happen as the Ray Mallet Lola comes back out after its... There goes the PlayStation Audi, and at once I've got an empty pit lane.
Thank you very much indeed, Graham. Now, I want to...
His headlights plural, but never mind. So it's had its pit stop, and more importantly than, probably more importantly than lights, assuming that they can find an accommodation, it's now less than 2 laps once again between Leto and Collard in the chasing Pescarolo. And of course, because Leto has had the slowing down of going into the pits, and he's going to have to speed up again, even though he's kept the same tyres on, so they'll be still nice and warm. But whilst they were refueling, it'll have cooled off a little bit. You'll expect to wait a lap or so until JJ is fully up to speed again. Still in 3rd place is the number 2 Audi, running as shotgun, as it were, for the champion racing team, Frank Montagny with the Orica Audi is in 4th place, and then the number 17 Pescarolo making it 3 Audis and 2 Pescarolos in the top 5, with Sebastian Loeb dropping away now by some 4 laps from the cars ahead of him. But then in 6th place, and going very well indeed, is the Zytek with Sam Hignett at the wheel. But now we have another Audi pit stop, and Graham has stayed where he is because he's got Emmanuel Di Pirro about to land with his lap, and I'm sure that will be another efficient pit stop. Graham?
Well, we hope so, don't we? We've got fuel going in, drinks bottle is offered, but at the moment being refused. Lewis Malone is the brave man who stands at front with the stop board. I'm sure that's not quite a job I'd want. Pirro does now take that drink, having wiped his visor. Visibility in this early morning light is quite difficult here when the sun is low, and with the circuit being as tortuous as it is, there are several places where you're directly facing into it, and if you're cresting a brow and coming into bright sunshine, that can only be hideous. There goes Pirro. He's not fussed about sunshine, he just wants to get back out in it.
And a nice catch by one of the team members from the drinks bottle, which he handed off to Keir Wilson on his work. And you're listening to Radio Le Mans, 91.2 FM, around the world at autosport.com. And for those of you listening on the internet, we've opened up another server, yoursportradio.com. I know there's been 1 or 2 problems. Try that, and we'll try and get some more capacity on there as well. Of course, we're on Speed TV as well, although we're about to take a short break from them. We will have continued coverage of the 73rd running of the Le Mans 24 Hours when we come back in a minute or so's time. Don't go away, there's plenty of racing left in this one, and you will...
Autosport Radio Le Mans.
91.2 FM, RLM at hairnet.com, not hairnet, hairnet.com. And of course you can call us here on the studio with your comments, views, and anything you can see out on the track that perhaps we don't. 0243 7562 67 plus 33 if you're outside France, of course. So that's 243 7562 67. Huge amount of email traffic coming in. We can't read all of them out, but I promise you I am skimming through them when we can to try and bring out the relevant points, particularly since we've been live on Speed. Of course, we're getting a lot of email traffic from the United States of America, which is going into the evening hours, of course, the early morning hours at least. JJ Ladle last time around with his pit stop at 4:35, 3:37 from Collard. So, Paul, is that back to under 2 laps again there at the head of the field?
Yes, it is, that's right. Because JJ had his pit stop, even though it was a blindingly fast one, we're down to under 2 laps. But as I was saying, before those 2 pit stops, the rate of closing from the Pescarolo just wasn't enough. And I suspect as the Audi's tyres go off, okay, the Audi slows down, but relative to that, the Pescarolo slows down more. So what it does is it catches up as long as the tyres are fresh, but then it kind of drifts on, it catches up but not quite as quickly. We can go down now to one of the teams that have got problems and been in the pits for some time, and that's the Creation team. The DBA has been stationary, Graham, for quite a long time now.
Yes, Paul, it has, sadly. Jamie Campbell-Walter joins me from his duties as part-time mechanic, just helping out, straightening up the rear wing. You've been in the pit for nigh on 40 minutes now. This must be heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very disappointing. I think it was the RML car was spewing out gearbox oil or some sort of oil, and went down to the first chicane and unfortunately locked up the left front, which is quite unusual because that's the loaded one as you go in. Stupidly, bit of a, first time I've made it to the morning of Le Mans, and it's amazing how much crap is on the outside of the corners, and I stupidly tried to make it round the corner, and once you go offline a bit, that's it, I just went straight on into the barrier. Well, Ollie Gavin just came in and said, mate, when that happens again, he said, what you do is you go straight through the gravel trap on the left, and then you don't hit the tyres. But a lesson learned, basically, and it's a sad one because we were running really well, and we're putting on a new splitter because the other one was damaged, but unfortunately it produces a bit more downforce, so we've got to put the rear wing up a hole. So there we go.
Thanks, Jamie. Let's get on down to Henry, who's got the GT2 leaders.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, the battle in GT2 between Peterson White Lightning, the number 90 Porsche, and the Alex Job Porsche, number 71. They are both changing their drivers. The Alex Job car has come in first. Mark Lieber's taken over in that car. It's had fuel and it's having new boots. Jörg Bergmeister, on the other hand, is sitting waiting for his Peterson White Lightning car to come in so he can take over. That too is going to have fuel and tyres.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
Henry and Graham Tyler doing great business, watching the timing and scoring screens. Charles Dressing.
Watching that 5 seconds that Paul put a minimum on, 5 seconds a lap, 5 seconds a lap. And Emmanuel Collard is running down J.J. Leto at 5 seconds a lap. On a happier note, the number 3 Audi, as it comes by you, look at the headlights, all the headlights but one are on. It has dual headlights. There is a headlight on in each front fender, so no problems there.
So Brad Kettler was absolutely right.
Yeah, well, what he did is he
missed it.
He had he said put on the high beams. He had to love. He's put on the high beams so
exactly right. Can you imagine the repercussions if that car had been stopped and the Pescarolo had gone through?
Well, wasn't it a Pescarolo that it happened to last year? Right towards the end of the race, it was certainly a French car, and I have a feeling it was a Pescarolo that it happened to last year. Only one headlight, and he was stopped at the end of the pits.
Let's go down to Peterson White Lightning. The car is in the pit lane in the GT2 battle for the lead. H.
Yes, it is, John. The number 90 Peterson White Lightning car. Timo Bernhard is out of the car. Jörg Bergmeister is getting in. Timo hanging around to help Jörg strap in. These guys have got tear-offs on the windscreen. They don't clean them. They just pull the tear-offs off. How cool is that? 4 new tyres. It's had fuel. And Jörg will be able to get back out onto the track to try and maintain the class lead over the 71 Alex Job car.
Just waiting for that car to come down off its jacks. Headlights both on that. Yellow headlight lenses denoting that it is a production-based car. And this is taking a while. Henry, have they got a problem there?
Yeah, one of the White Lightning mechanics is in the passenger door. He sorted whatever it was because the door's shut, the car's down. Bergmeister takes that car back out again.
Richard Springett from Tokyo listening to us on the internet transmission. Good to hear that you're listeners. And the front splitter on the 58 Aston Martin. Now this is the Thomas Enger car which is leading, and there's been a lot of work on the front of this car since Sebring. American viewers who saw this car winning at Sebring will notice there's quite a lot of work, and that is where most of the work is. It's got a bit of a chin spoiler. Now that's vibrating quite a lot on the right front. We'll see if we can get another shot of that for the Speed TV viewers. And Enger is, well, has he slowed down? Is he going to come into the pits? Do you know, I think he might be pitting. Yes, he is. The leader in GT1 for an unscheduled stop. And Graham Tyler is hurrying down to Aston Martin pit number 59 to wait for the Czech driver with the bright red accoutrements. I don't think it is a puncture, Paul. Okay. I just think it's something come loose on that revised front end. The front end that the Corvette guys call DBR 9.5 as it comes to a halt. Graham Tyler is there.
Yes, it's the 58 car we're talking about here, the red trimmed or orange trimmed one. They're going to fuel it up, which they must do out on the pit apron, of course, but then they're going to lift it up on the air jacks, put the trolleys on underneath and put it back into the garage. The main reason being they can then use as many hands on board as they like. The fueling is complete, up go the air jacks, the little trolleys go in underneath, they'll drop the air again, and they'll get the car spun round and back it into the pit. Most efficient way of doing these things, Graham, and everybody's helping.
They don't have a lot of time, Graham, before they lose the lead on the 58 car. My apologies, 58 car that is in. We did say it was the leader, and I have slapped myself around the head with a damp haddock for getting that one wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. They don't have a lot of time because the Corvettes are right on their heels. But isn't it a good job that once they got ahead of the Corvettes, they pushed and pushed and pushed rather than necessarily sticking to a 355?
Yes, there is that. Although I think their customers next year will still have something to say about that. The Corvette then will come around next time. It was about to go a lap down.
It was so close.
Yeah,
It was almost visual for Aston.
But they wouldn't have sold any if they hadn't have won.
Yes, but Corvette has to come back and live with the 355. It's not I don't want to call it a rule. 355
guideline.
Bull. I like the guideline. I'm looking off to the right to see when the Corvette will come round. It's out on the far side of the circuit. By the way, the problem with the 90 car was a problem with the cool suit fluid that was left out. The Corvette is at Indianapolis as Graham Tyler picks up the story in the 58 Aston Martin pit. It's leading the class, Graham, but for how much longer?
Well, for as long as it'll take the Corvette to get to Indianapolis from Indianapolis back here, because my guess is that this job is not going to be finished by then. The advantage that Aston have maybe is that they have got a double width pit. Of course, they have two cars here, so they've got all the bits they need or had laid out ready in the 59 garage area, along with all the folding seats nicely emblemed with Aston Martin logos. But they've now got that piece ready in front of the 58 car to offer it up. But as yet, the old one is still aboard. As I say that, they proved me a liar by taking it off, and the new one will be offered up as soon as they've tightened up whatever it was behind the splitter that had come loose. This isn't just the front splitter we're talking about, there's work going on behind it as well. George Howard Chappell is overseeing from the far side of the car as the Corvette comes along pit lane anytime now. They're just approaching pit in, and as they cross the line, it'll be a Corvette at the head of the GT1 category while the work carries on in the Aston Martin garage.
And he crosses the line right. And the Corvette leads GT1. And remember Ferraris last year and ProDrive.
Only because they had a lot of trouble with their front splitters, and a lot of the time they were in the pits repairing front splitters. Now I know this is an Aston Martin and those were Ferraris.
Yes, but look at the shape of the car. Look, they've learned a lot. They've used a lot of the same technology. There's no doubt that had it not been for the 550 Maranellos, they would not have been able to develop this car so quickly.
But you do remember how much trouble they had last year. There was a...
Hasn't the 59 car already had its front the nose done?
The 59 car has, yes, but this is the 58.
Yes, but
so
that's both of them now.
Yes, it's both of them, yeah.
Although that did have an off through the gravel as well, which may have precipitated that.
Another one of those little things you can't find in the scoring order. Watching a Corvette, every time one of the Feltham green cars came in, one man would step out of the Corvette garage, stand very quietly, observe the pit stop, and go back in. This time, about 6 men came out. I think Corvette smelled blood.
Well, Doug Feehan, if he's got anything left in the fast cupboard, needs to pull that drawer out now and throw it straight in to the mix. And Graham Tyler has read my mind there, haven't you, Graham? You've wandered a few pits up, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I wandered up to speak to Doug Feehan, programme manager for the CompuWare Corvettes. Like a shark smelling blood in the water, Mr. Feehan.
Oh, no, not really. We got a lot of racing left. You know, the last 6 hours of this event has proven to be pretty exciting, and I think this may be the first stages of that.
So you're expecting a chase back from the Astons again?
Oh, you can depend on it. They've shown speed that we simply can't match. So it's going to come down to durability and reliability. They've been able to successfully double stint tires. We have not, so they've clearly got a different tire than we have.
Whoever comes out on top of this GT1 class battle, it will have been well and truly earned, won't it?
That's what the fans pay to see. Anything different, we could just mail it in.
Does the 355-minute rule come into your strategy at all, or do you just have to react to what happens on the circuit?
Well, we're running as hard as we can, but we took into consideration a 355 rule in designing and building and engineering the car, which is what the ACO had requested. So,
thank you, Doug. Straightforward answers.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
Exactly right, Joe. And sorry, see, that was wishful thinking. Not that Mr. Tyler and et al. In there, but it would have been nice to have Bradley back this year. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the time off from being a policeman. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it. He's sorely missed this year. And Graham Tyler with the Deutsche Bank update down from the pit lane. We're going to take a short break from the action while the work goes on apace in the 58 Aston Martin pit. There's a whole bevy of green-clad men working on the nose of that car. Let's catch up on the rest of the sports news with Carl at the sports desk.
And the sports news, Giano Trulli has earned Toyota's first ever pole by holding off McLaren's Kimi Raikkonen at Indianapolis, with BAR's Jenson Button in third place. Fisichella is in fourth, with Schumacher and Barrichello's Ferraris sandwiching Fernando Alonso. In the meantime, what tyres the Michelin teams will use remains unclear. If Michelin decide the tyres cannot be used safely, their teams face a major dilemma. A new batch of tyres is being flown in from France, but in using these, competitors would be breaking several F1 regulations. The latest reports say that the organisers are putting in an extra chicane near the banked final corner, which is where Ralf Schumacher crashed, in order to negate any problems. Golf news now. Retief Goosen, the South African, he's taken a 3-stroke lead into the final round of the US Open at Pinehurst. And in cricket, Australia will be looking to bounce back from their humiliating defeat to Bangladesh as they take on England at Bristol later today.
The Sports Report is brought to you by Silverstone Circuit, host of the 1,000-kilometre Le Mans Endurance Series race this August. For further details, go to silverstone-circuit.co.uk.
The hourly updates are brought to you by Audi, celebrating 25 years of Quattro.
10:30 here in France, just after JJ Lado for ATT champion Audi has completed 285 laps. He lapped last time around in a 2:43.9. In second place, Emmanuel Collard in the 16 Pescarolo. He's completed 283 laps, and he's just a little ahead on the track of JJ Lado, trying to fight his way back to the lead. 3:38.0, another 5 seconds taken away from the leader last time around. Emmanuel Pirot is now at the wheel of the number 2 champion Audi, which is sitting in third position overall. He lapped in a 43.1 last time around, and to complete the Audi 3 rather, and the top 4, Frank Montagny is in the Oreca Audi. The number 4 car is in 4th position, and 3:43.8 last time around. In 5th position, Sebastian Loeb continues to lap competitively, a 3:41.4 in the second Pescarolo, down in 17th position. 274 laps completed for that car. And Sam Hignett has the Zytek in 6th position on 271 laps. There's a new leader in GT1, and a small cheer emanates from the United States of America as the Corvette C6R, the number 64 car, has taken the lead after the problems have befallen the erstwhile leader, Thomas Enger, in the 58 Aston Martin. Corvette just gone through in the lead after the problems with the front splitter on the 58 car. In third place, Saracen is at the wheel of the 59 Aston Martin, and in fourth is the 63 car, and that's the second of the Corvettes, Johnny O'Connell, at the wheel of that machine. And those cars very close together on the lap scoring monitor. They run from 7th through to 10th, and just a lap between all of them. In the GT2 category, it's still the 71 car, which it seems to have been at the head of the field for such a long time. Alex Job Racing and BAM, with Mark Lieb now at the wheel of that car. Jörg Bergmeister in second place in the White Lightning racing car. He is a lap adrift of the leader on the timing and scoring monitor at the moment. And in third place in GT2 is yet another Porsche, and that is, my apologies, because I just have to cycle through the timing and scoring screen. Third place in GT2 is the 76 car of Romain Dumas, and that's the Raymond Narak car back up into third. Very, very quickly in the LM GT2, it's been a battle of attrition. It's the two Belmondos, 37 and 36, that still lead. The Mike Newton RML MG Lola is back on the track in third position. That's your hourly update.
Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik.
Live from Wednesday to Sunday, there's no other coverage of the Le Mans 24-hour to compare. Complete radio entertainment and information. Interviews with the guys that matter, when it matters. Full commentary of the practice sessions and the race. Plus the best mix of classic music tracks. There's only one radio station you need for the 24 hours. Autosport Radio Le Mans.
Frantic activity down at the Brescarolo pit. The car, number 17 car of Sebastian Loeb, is in the pits. It's had its fuel top up. There are two mechanics with their faces buried right inside the front bodywork. The nose section has been taken off, and they are bringing bits of gravel and debris out of the deep inside the front of the side pods. They've now got an airline on that to give it a bit of a blast. Sebastian has probably, by the look of it, had a bit of an off. Maybe John and Paul can confirm that from the information on the screens. They're blowing the inside of the cockpit out with an airline.
It might just be rubbish from the previous off that Sebastian had.
Right.
You're listening to Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM, and we'll take a short break from the action on Speed TV, but it will literally only be 60 seconds before we're back to find out what's happening with this Pescarolo and what's happening at the front of the field. JJ Leto still leads it. 286 laps completed, 91.2 FM, autosport.com and live.
At 1,000 miles an hour. This is Autosport Radio Le Mans, the lifeline of Le Mans.
I'm John Hindhoff. Welcome back to Le Saf as we're moving inside the last quarter now of the 2005 Le Mans 24 Hours. We're waiting for a Corvette pit stop, and it's a Corvette pit stop that will take place with the 64 car in the lead of the GT1 category. Alongside me, Charles Dressing, but first is Paul Truswell.
Yes, there's an interesting situation on the track at the moment, because as John was saying when he was doing the rundown, the number 16 Pescarolo, driven by Emmanuel Collard, is being chased by the car that is behind it in the race, which is the Emanuele Pirro champion car, number 2. But not very far behind that is the number 3 JJ car. So JJ's kind of got to get past Pirro before he can get to, Collard's got to kind of get past this Pirro business in the middle. And so it might be interesting just to watch the relative performance of the 3 cars. They're circulating relatively close together, and there's now quite a lot less than 2 laps between those first 2 cars. Quite a lot less than 2 laps.
Wow. And that is going to get really hot. And we've got the 63 Corvette in. Johnny O'Connell seems to have been in that car for the longest time. It looks regulation. Also, GT2, one of the leading cars come in, and we'll catch that in a moment because Graham Tyler is down with the 3rd place car in GT1. It's the Corvette and Graham Tyler.
Yep. Johnny O'Connell shares your opinion. He's been in the Corvette long enough, he says. Looks a little weary as he clambers out. Ron Fellows will take over, the ever-popular Canadian driver. The car's looking distinctly grubby and battle-scarred now after such a long and... Wow, oh, I love that noise, don't you? I love the way the ground shakes when these Corvettes take off. Johnny's still trying to get the crash helmet off. It's fuel and tyres, of course, during a driver change pit stop, so the car already fettled for Ron to take out. We'll grab a quick word with Johnny O'Connell in just a second. It would be good to hear from the Georgia resident, if we can. Just mopping himself down. It's really hot work in there, and that despite all the work the Pratt & Miller people did when they put the 6R together in order to try and get driver comfort up the priority list for these guys. It's immensely hard work in there, and Johnny's sucking air, looking for a drink as well. I'm going to have to give him a moment to get over that effort, guys. I'll come back to you.
Graham Tyler will be back here in a second. Elwood Ellis in Daytona Beach says, great to see the MG having a great run. Well, it was until a few moments ago, wasn't it? But it's kind of bittersweet, says Elwood, that it's not the 16 and 20 Dyson duo. Could you please fill me in on the Dyson no-show? I was hoping to see the 2 no-code sponsored machines hounding those Audis till 4 o'clock this afternoon. Thanks for great overnight entertainment here in Daytona Beach. Keep up the good work. The men from Poughkeepsie didn't make the trip, Charles.
No, didn't make the trip at all. Le Mans not on his menu, Dance Carter program.
Is that just because his focus is entirely on the American Le Mans Series?
Not at all. It's not. He doesn't do it at all. Last weekend I was with Rob and his son at Watkins Glen on their father and son Grand Am project with a Max Crawford Pontiac powered car. So there's hobby racing in the family, and there's ALMS racing in the family. It's not just the 2 cars in ALMS.
There's your answer, Elwood, and of course they will be racing 4th of July weekend. The race is actually on the Monday, which is 4th of July at Lime Rock Park, Connecticut, and that is a right little bull ring of a place. Sort of minute and a half lap or something like that.
A what?
Minute and a half.
Not even that.
58 seconds. Oh, fantastic. It's going to be like sports car racing round the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch.
Come buy a ticket stand at the bottom of the diving turn coming into the front straight and watch James Weaver. If you see nothing else, it's worth the price.
More LMP2 problems as the 36 Belmondo car is pushed back into the garage. It really has been the battle of the mechanics in GT2. We thought that this year the normally fast but fragile prototype 2 cars were a little more reliable. However, the excessive heat and the excessive pace of this race have taken their toll, and it's been ebb and flow. We've seen the MG of the Ray Mallet guys up at the head of the field. The Belmondo cars have been there, and now again a problem for the 36 machine. That's the Gosselin, OJ and Sharp driven machine. So the boss is now leading. Belmondo, Andre and Sutherland have the 37 car. Mike Newton is back out and circulating in the Ray Mallet car. He is some 7 laps adrift of the second place car, 8 laps adrift of the leader who's just gone through. But that, as we've seen, Paul, will evaporate rather quickly. They're around about a 4-minute lap for the LMP2 cars. So half an hour, 40 minutes, and it's all going to be changing again.
Well, exactly. And the other thing that kind of makes you think it's all going to change again is the fact there's still 5 hours to go. And I don't think any of the LMP2 cars have run for 5 hours without one or the other of them having a problem. So, you know, you really can't predict the future as far as they're concerned.
The sad part about the whole LMP2 thing, last year I was thrilled when the boys from Intersport won this thing. But then I went and looked at the annual, and they spent 3 hours and 40-some minutes in the pits, and they still won.
That's right, and that's going to happen to whoever wins, isn't it?
I was hoping it would not happen this year.
Yeah. GT1 leader on pit road, and Graham Tyler is watching the Corvette pit stop.
Yep, Olivier Beretta in the car and will stay in the car. Frantic cleaning of the windscreen going on while the fuel goes in through those specially adapted nozzles to accommodate the dry brake of the new C6R being deep inside the bodywork to prevent any risk of the repeat of the fiery accident that befell Dale Earnhardt Jr. last year at Infineon Raceway, Sears Point. They're going to put fresh rubber on here as well. The Pratt & Miller crew do this work absolutely superbly. It's almost balletic. You could just write this stuff down and create a routine around it for anyone who's into the song and dance stuff. Gary Pratt and his men really work at this. They are so pumped up, and the importance of this work they know they understand. And they go for it now, and that's the GT1 class leader back into the race.
The sandwich has changed again, Paul, because we had Aston, Corvette, Aston. So the Aston was the bread, and then we had the club sandwich, as you described it, which was Aston, Corvette. Now we've got Corvette, Aston, Corvette, because Thomas Enger has gone by Ron Fellows out on the track. So it's changed around again in GT1.
It's fascinating, that, isn't it? And yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say about the Corvettes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's a long race.
It'll come back to me. Carry on.
Hang on a second, because we've got a problem with the Aston Martin 59. Sarrazin has got, I think, a left rear puncture. Shall we just run that tape again where I say he's got a left rear puncture? But I think that's what it is. As through goes Emmanuel Pirot. He's very fortunate that it's not too far away from pit lane. It happened, I think, coming through the Porsche curves, which must have been very scary for Stefan Sarrazin. Remember, he was the first man in the race to go under the nominal 355 barrier. And that car comes back into pit lane, and Graham Tyler is down at the Aston Martin pit for the 59 car. This was second position in GT1. Does nobody want to win this class, Graham?
Well, they're trying to give it away. Well, the Corvettes are not certainly trying to give it away. They're trying to win it. The Aston Martin seem to be managing to trip themselves up every now and then. The 59 car does come to a stop with that car, with that tyre, as you say, absolutely ruined. That's not the first of these we've had. Has already had its problems as we go, because it's had a broken front splitter similar to that we just saw changed on the 58 car. Darren Turner took a triple two across the gravel early in the race and damaged that splitter on the 59 car here. He also incurred 2 or 3, certainly 2 for himself, at least 2 for himself, penalties, stop-and-go penalties for crossing the white lines, which are at the edge of the circuit here. The ACO have a ruling that you shall not cross those white lines, and they infringed this a total of 4 times. No one driver can have done it 3 times, because if they had, they would have been disqualified from the car. So it must have been shared out, but I know Darren Turner had at least 2 of those strikes against him. Anyway, the car is back out, the tyre is under wraps, and I'm going to go in search of Johnny O'Connell again.
Yeah, what it was actually was that there was 2 infringements of going over the white line and 1 infringement for overtaking on a yellow flag. They were all against Darren Turner, although the last one, the yellow flag infringement that Darren Turner committed, was served by Sarazan when he was in the car after Darren Turner. And you've spotted something else on the screens there, John.
Yes, I have, and it's the 3.6. Oh, we've lost the wheel. I was just about to say, I wonder what's happened to him. He's lost the wheel. It's the Gizmondo 360 that's sitting, parked in the shade rather sensibly. Out. It's a very tight shot we've got there. Can't tell you where that is on the circuit. Post 14, it says.
That's chicane.
That's near.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Dunlop chicane, and the 92 car, the Certec Motorsport. Yeah. Ericsson, Wilson and Macari car.
Yeah, it's actually where the Bugatti's, just beyond where the Bugatti circuit pulls off. Just
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Big crowd down there. Great spectator point. See, they've moved the fairground this year, which is what I was looking at earlier in the night, wondering what the neon aerials were on top of the Module Sportif, and they weren't. It's because the fairground's moved down there. Here comes the Pescarolo. It's the 16 car in second place. Emmanuel Collard brings the car to a halt in front of Henry Hofrost.
Yes, indeed, John. The car's taking on fuel. There will be no tyre change or driver change. It's just a routine fuel stop. The windscreen of the car is cleaned. The driver's visor is cleaned. The engineers are looking in through the wheels with torches to check on the condition of brake discs and pads. These cars, of course, going the whole length of the race on the same set of discs and pads. And they, too, are clearing some debris out of the front of the cockpit sides, as they did on the Loeb car, and it's all done, and in number 16, Pescarolo is back out. Graham Tyler at the other end of the pit lane with some more news.
Thank you. We've got Johnny O'Connell having had a bit of attention to cool him down out of the car. Tyres starting to become an issue this morning.
You know, really, that was the biggest problem. We tried a double stint a set, and, you know, they were very good the first stint. Shoot, I think it was the quickest stint we've done in the car. But we've been fighting understeer with that thing, you know, since the get-go, and that second stint was just really difficult. And when it's this hot and you've been pushing so hard for so long, and then you've got a car that it's everything you can do to keep on the racetrack, that was a lot of work. But you know, we keep pushing on. The funny thing is, there's a long way to go in this thing, and you know, everybody at Corvette is pushing hard.
Thanks, Johnny. We'll let you go and have a shower and become human again.
The Deutsche Bank X-Markets pit lane team.
Joel Moyer from New York City, the city that never sleeps. Well, he won't be at this time of the morning, well, if he's still here, loving the coverage and keeping up the great sense of humour. That's what keeps me awake, as does the great race, he says. I'd like to say hello to my dad on Father's Day, who's just called from the Dominican Republic, where he's watching the race on Speed TV. Here's my million-dollar question, says Joel. Is it true that Audi will use a diesel engine for the R9? A lot of interest from the States on these diesel engines. I think it's going to be called the R10 for a start off, because I think it'll be a V10 diesel if the car comes, but we can't get Wolfgang Ulrich to confirm it. But interestingly enough, he hasn't denied it, Charles.
He hasn't denied it, and I think I'd change your syntax. I think it is called the R10.
Ah, right. I bow to your further knowledge. Paul Truswell?
No, I'm still fascinated by lap times being put in by the Pescarolo. It kind of flatters to deceive. You think that they're closing up. You think that the Pescarolo is closing up on the Audi, and then the Pescarolo comes into the pits. It falls away again, and then the Audi comes into the pits. It falls away again. But overall, that gap is still shrinking and we've still got over 5 hours of the race remaining. It's less than 2 laps. That's even after the stop from Collard. And remember, last time when Collard made his stop, after Collard made his stop, it was more than 2 laps again, and it took us waiting until Leto's pit stop before it went back to less than 2 laps. So if you want proof that it's closing, just look at that fact.
There's some great emails coming in from the US. Obviously, we can't mention them all, but here's a great one from Ted Rockwell. He said, Saturday, I drove 150 miles to pick up cable TV equipment, get it installed and set up so I could watch this race. Well, that's, got to tell you, that's all about Speed TV. And that comes from a place called Palmer in
Alaska, the 49th state.
I think that's the first email we've ever had from Alaska on ALMS.
However, we did have an email from Antarctica a few years ago.
We did.
Which is just like Alaska, only farther south.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep the emails coming in. I'm sorry if we don't mention you by name, but we will try and get through some of the points that you bring up. rlm@haynet.com. Haynet, rlm@haynet.com. And I'll remind as well our US listeners and viewers rather on Speed TV that the American Le Mans Series is covered extensively and live on Speed TV over the summer and towards the finale at Laguna Seca. Laguna Seca into the darkness again this year with the season finale of the American Le Mans Series. Next round is on the 4th of July. It's on a Monday at Lime Rock. 58-59 second out, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, live on Speed TV, where Radio Le Mans and the ALMS live on Speed TV. Right, Martin Short is down in the pit lane, out of the roll centre pits. Been an up and down race for those guys, but he did get to second place, and we reckon, Graham, that for a moment that man actually led the race when he was sitting in his own car. Graham Tyler.
Yeah, well, he's still sitting in his own car because he's brought it in and is staying in. They've done fuel already, they're doing fresh Michelin rubber. Martin is taking a drink and lobbing the bottle back to the crew, having a look at down in the cockpit alongside Martin. Yes, I think they did lead, albeit very briefly, which will justify Martin's comment to me during qualifying that they believe that this car, if reliable, could have been a real contender in this weekend's event, and how right it's proved. They're just about to send him on his way. Car fires up first time. Martin Short and his Judd engine Dallara number 18 back to the fray.
Now you like the big booming American V8s. Interestingly, our American colleagues, particularly Jim Roller, who's producing this segment, he'll be back with us a bit later on downstairs in the booth. Everyone multitasking here at Radio Le Mans. He likes the high revving Judds. Isn't that a strange thing?
It must be a cross-Atlantic thing. Oh, we've got the engine cover coming off the number 9 Zytek.
I was just about to point you in that direction, sir.
No need, I'm already there, dear boy. John Stack has taken the car over. Sam Hignett refused to let him go last time round, but this time John has reached in and pulled him out of the car. So John's sitting in it, but he may have a bit of a wait because, as others have done, they're busy squirting air from the airlines through the radiators to try and reduce some of the heat soak from this machine. It's going to be a real problem come the heat of the day, and we're not there yet. Bear in mind, here in France it's only 11 a.m. and the pit lane is still in shadow, and it's pleasantly cool down here, but out on the track is warming up. It's going to get a lot hotter yet, John, and overheating seems to be a problem affecting more and more teams.
Thanks, Graham. Fountain Valley, Southern California. Renman says, I was watching Speed TV feed while getting ready to leave work, and you talked about needing to come up with a term for the leaders working their way through the clumps of cars. Since the cars are packing trackside viewers in waves, maybe when the leaders come through, it should be called surfing. Just a thought. I like that, John. Enjoying the coverage, and then glad Speed is broadcasting Le Mans. So are we. Good to have the company of all of the American viewers of Speed TV. JJ Leto continues to lead. 291 laps are in Paul's little book, which he's holding in his left hand. And it's JJ Leto then who leads it. 3:45.7 the last time around. Emmanuel Collard chasing him down for Pescarolo. The chase has ebbed and flowed. They're both in the same portion of the track at the moment. The 16 car, 289 laps, 2 away from the lead. And last time around, of course, was a pit stop. But he's normally taking some 4 or 5 seconds a lap away from JJ Leto. Third place, the The number 2, Emmanuel Pirot, ADT champion Audi. He's completed 285 laps. His last lap at 3:45.180.
1.2 FM, Autosport Radio Le Mans.
We're back live, and JJ Leto made his pit stop whilst we were waiting for the news. He almost took out the guy at the end of the pit lane who was trying to stop him for having his right headlight out. Graham Tyler, you saw that as well.
Yeah, they're getting more and more agitated about this. Last time that same guy tried to stop JJ leaving, and JJ was having nothing of it, just drove away. And the sound you hear there is that of Emmanuel Pirot driving away in his number 2 car that's just come on pit lane to take on fuel and a drink for Emanuele. But getting back to JJ's car, the number 3 lead car overall, remember, that has no headlight illuminated in the right-hand pod.
Except sorry, Graham, go on.
Go on.
Except it doesn't when he first starts it up and he gets out the pits, and as soon as he takes the pit lane speed limiter off, he's got his hand free then to, I think, put on main beam or flash or something like that, or wiggle the switch.
Yeah, it's something intermittent because
it's on again at Dunlop again.
Whatever's causing it, it really is upsetting these guys at pit out. They strung 3 of them across his path last time, and he still went away without stopping for them. We've now got the number 4 Audi to complete the set. This is the Hughes to Schoenack run car, and we're having a driver change here, and it's going to be Stefan Ortelli jumping in the car after a well-earned rest after what seemed to me to be a very long stint, Paul, in the number 4 Audi. Stefan Ortelli will be taking the car over. They've got the fuel going in as well. It's going to be a full service. Tyres will be done at the same time, and as well as running this car, Hughes de Schoenack was intervening on behalf of the 3 car with that pit lane marshal, and lots of Gallic shrugging going on, so hopefully they'll escape without a penalty. It will be criminal to see this battle for the lead at the very top of the race being stymied by a French gentleman with a whistle. The fly screen on the 4 car has been changed. Away he goes.
The really bizarre thing about it is all that guy has to do is turn around and look at the big screen over his right shoulder, and he'll see when we get the shot of the car going up going up through the Dunlop chicane that the headlamps back in operation on the right-hand headlamp pod.
I'm not arguing and I'm not being awkward, but the guy on the pit lane exit has a job to do. He's told not to let cars out that don't have both headlights on, and JJ is playing this very close to the wind, because if the guy on the pit lane wants to be silly, and if JJ isn't very careful, then JJ will get into a lot of trouble. And whilst it's kind of saying yes, it's a shame to spoil the race, JJ's got to play this one very, very carefully, because if he causes anybody on the marshals any damage at all, he's going to be in big, big trouble. And the way he's going out, he's driving intimidatingly.
Graham Tyler can update us on this. I think this is a story that's going to run a bit, Graham.
Yeah, Hughes de Schoenack is having a little whispered conversation in the ear of Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, and I know that's what they're talking about, and there's a deep discussion going on about this. I take Paul's point. The guy has a job to do, and you know that his remit isn't to look over his shoulder and look at the light while it's burning brightly out on the circuit. His job is simply to look at what's happening when the car goes out on the track.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean that somebody from the ACO should be saying, no, the car, by the time it comes back across the start-finish line, it's fine. In fact, by 100 metres up the road, it's fine. So if it comes round and it doesn't have it on, then fine, flash it, bring it in. But yeah, it would be wrong. It would be wrong to stop that car.
I couldn't agree more, John.
That's only one person's view. Quickly, let's pay off another story. We've just seen pictures of Marino Franchitti in the Pianos coming to a grinding halt out on the circuit, and Marino's first crack at Le Mans not ending the way he would. I think he was out at Indianapolis Arnage kind of area. There was a lot of sand there as he pulled the car off to driver's right, and I'm afraid that he's going to be a spectator. He's got a long walk back from there, and unless the team can send something out to pick him up. A nice place to watch, albeit, but I'm sure they would have liked something better of the first run of the Esperante car, remember, the 77 car with Robert Liddell at the wheel did lead the class, and they had second and third for quite a long time before things went a little bit wrong. It's been a fraught week with a bad set of fuel for them early on, which caused them problems, and they'll be a little disappointed now, but I think they'll look back in a week or so's time and say that their first foray to Le Mans with that brand new car has actually been relatively successful. They've matched the pace of the best Porsches, and that is one that you can write in your tick off in your to-do book. We'll be back with more action after we've had a look at the weather here for Le Mans.
Come rain or shine, Autosport Radio Le Mans weather update.
Well, still barely any wind to talk about. What there is coming drifting in from the east, and there's not a cloud in the sky here at Le Mans 2005. It's been a picture-perfect race so far. A 0% chance of rain, the weather forecast tell us. Up here on the balcony, it's actually 40 degrees on at the moment, and that's centigrade. However, down on the track, I can see that it says 33 on the Rolex timepiece. And that's pretty much going to be it for the end of, right the way through to the end of the race. Get a little cooler tonight if you're staying over at the circuit, and the dash to the channel tomorrow. Take some extra fluids for you and for the old car, because it's going to be another scorcher. The roof will be down, but you'll need a cap on and some sunscreen and plenty of fluids for both you and the old radiator.
The Weather Report with Michelin, winner of the Le Mans 24 Hours for the last 7 years in a row.
Keeping you prepared, whatever the weather. 91.2 FM and on the World Wide Web. www.autosport.com. Your number. This is Autosport Radio Le Mans.
From Washington, D.C., C. Rozek, terribly formal there, so Mr., Mrs. or Ms. Rozek, says, earlier in the race, one car was disqualified because the driver made the mistake of backing up on the pit lane or on the course. And recently we saw Sebastian Loeb driving the 17 Pescarolo back up. Also, why was no action taken against the 17 car? You're absolutely right. He did reverse out of the escape road.
He wasn't on the track when he's on the escape road. The rules apply to being on the track, and then when he got back onto the track, because at Indianapolis the way back onto the track involves joining the track where the escape road comes in, you then go into the escape road, and the marshals were waving him. You can do it if the marshals are instructing you.
That's basically your get out of jail free card, is it?
Well, quite, yes.
When you're under marshal control, you do as you're told, or else you go to the pits.
Can't wait till the American Le Mans Series comes to Laguna Seca, says Carrier Michael O'Brien from Nipomo in California. Can't imagine a better way to spend Father's Day all night with my dad than staying up all night to watch the action from Le Mans. And we should wish all fathers, including Mr. Truswell alongside us. He's the only one of us three up here. A very happy Father's Day. Hopefully my dad is listening back in the UK. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Shame you can't be with us this year, but look after me, Mum, and we'll see you soon. Right, let's get back to the action on the track. Welcome along if you're joining us on Speed. We'll be going back to your regular commentary team in just about 45 minutes' time. We've got another pit caller, the RML MG Lola. Resplendent in its livery. I do think that livery shows off the curves of the car very well indeed, and there's a limited edition slot car model just come out of Lascar. Just wonderful piece of kit, and the guys at Wellingborough, who are a bit like the Dirty Dozen from Poughkeepsie in some respects, have hot-rodded this car
They
as
do
well.
a lot with a little. Rob Dyson always said, 9 guys, too many for one car, not enough for 2. Put a few stars on that red, white, and blue car. You might be able to sell a few in America.
And into the pit lane, this looks like there's a little bit of work going to go on, is there not? It's just a fuel stop. Tyres are coming out for the RML MG. Remember, no work allowed to be done to the car other than changing the driver. Warren Hughes, the jovial Geordie, gets in. Newcastle United supporter, despite the fact that he lives in Sunderland, which is
you shouldn't
almost
say
sin.
that on the radio. He's
get
him in trouble.
No, he's all right. He's a happy skunk. Is Warren, and of course he had experience of driving the Works MG here, Paul, a few years ago, and that was his first ever shot at Le Mans when he was driving the Works MG. And he says this car is like night and day, so much better than the MG that he can't even begin to compare them.
I mean, those MGs, those Works MGs, they were really fragile.
Yeah.
I mean, these LMP2 cars are are solid. They're bricks compared to those other. They were so fragile. I mean, there's somebody going across the gravel on the Ford chicane there. Get your field glasses out, John. It's a white Porsche skating across the gravel.
And somebody's got to get a mouthful of dust as it comes back towards us.
They're mainly sitting in the grandstand, I think.
Oh dear, that's where your car's parked down there.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of dust on my car down there.
Unless it's been towed again.
Oh yeah, it could be. Well. Yeah, it'll be safe in the car park.
There we are.
It's the 89 Porsche that's gone through the Seba Automotus. And now look, here's the JJ Leto car coming towards the camera. There is one headlight now on the right-hand side. The problem is that when that car first comes down off its jacks and fires up, and you'll see another frontal shot on the big screens and on Speed TV coverage in just a few moments' time. Now at the moment, if it was to go out of the pit lane like that, the French marshal at the end of the pit lane would be desperately happy because it has two headlamps on one side and one on the other. However, when it comes down off its jacks for the first time and fires up, the headlight on the left as we're looking at it, the right-hand pod, is not illuminated. It's the inside spotlight that should be on all the time, and it's not. You can see that JJ is flashing the lights, and in fact, the other light has gone off as well now, and he's just using them on main beam to flash when he gets close to cars. And often you'll see the xenon bulbs, for that is what they use now in these race cars. Hugely high voltage, big transformer packs stuffed under the nose of the cars give that really distinctive blue-white light that you see on a lot of German and Italian road cars as well. Well, those once in a while, the right-hand outside one just flickers into life and then dies again.
It's been doing that all morning. I saw it early in the morning. I thought my eyes were deceiving me.
Now, the good news is that the fix for that is probably just to change the nose, but they won't want to do that if they don't need to.
So where's the threshold? How far do you push these people? Because it doesn't matter what the marshal thinks. It's what the people at the other end of the pit lane and the Starship Enterprise think.
But it does matter, as Paul rightly said, if the marshal stands his ground and JJ has to lock up to miss him or has to do something to miss him and causes some kind of conflagration at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah, or just causes some damage. I mean, you know, damage to his own car or into a barrier, whatever. I mean, there's no reason why somebody in race control shouldn't tell that marshal, don't worry about that car, that's all right. But until he does, then I know it's a silly rule, but there's lots of silly rules. And you know, we had the number 8 car being excluded because he hasn't done half the winner's distance at the 75% point within the race. It's a silly rule, but it's a rule.
And it's a traditional Le Mans. That kind of rule, those rules of that nature about the minimum distance have been around here since 1924 or 5. Maybe 1923.
Yes, quite.
So it's not like people don't know about it. It's 11:15. The sun is almost overhead, and shortly we will get a little bit of a cooling breeze. Up here on the balcony, it's 42 degrees centigrade at the moment, and it's getting a bit sticky.
I don't need a thermometer.
We've got a bit of an echo here, not a verbal echo, but on the circuit there's an echo, because in the LMP1 we've got a very fast Pescarolo closing in on a not quite so fast Audi. In GT1 we've got a very fast Aston Martin closing in on a not quite so fast Corvette, and the times are coming down in both categories. Less than 2 laps in the LMP1 category, and it's just over 1.5 minutes, 96 seconds separating the 64 Corvette, which is in the hands of, at the moment, Oliver Gavin, and the number 59 Aston in the hands of Stefan Sarazan. And Stefan is lapping about 5 seconds a lap quicker than the Corvette, and the Pescarolo is lapping about 4 or 5 seconds faster than the Audi. So whichever class you wish to take, LMP1 or GT1, you've got the same situation. It's a perfect handicap.
Perfect handicap in less than 20 laps, or fewer than 20 laps. I'm guessing the Aston will be right there. All other things being equal, which they never are.
That's right. You may need to take a little bit longer than that because of pit stops, but in principle, Chuck, you're absolutely right.
You're listening to Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM around the circuit, online at autosport.com and yoursportradio.com. I know that the Autosport server is melting at the moment, so we have turned another one on. Also at Sky Channel 907. If you're in the UK, you might be able to help us out by taking a little bit of work out of the autosport.com server. If you've got Sky Channel, it's free to air, Sky Channel 907. If you'd like to email us, and many of you are, including people watching the Speed channel at the moment, rlm at haynet.com, haynet.com, and we'll try and get through as many of these emails as we can. We're about 40 minutes before we hand you back to your normal speed presentation team, but until then, it'll be Radio Le Mans who takes you through the excitement that is the 2005 Le Mans 24 hours. I have to say that the race has been absolutely stunning so far.